Hey everybody and welcome back to yet another episode of Imagine If, a series dedicated to discussing crazy and wacky ideas that pop into my brain, all surrounding Fortnite Battle Royale. So today we're going to be discussing extreme weather events in Fortnite Battle Royale. So today's topic is going to be rather wild and will probably be never added into the game no matter how much begging and dick sucking we're going to do, okay? But at least we can still get together and imagine if they added something like that, how it would impact the game, how it would change the feel of it, and what it would be like to play Fortnite Battle Royale with these extreme weathers in place. So first of all, let me explain in a little bit more detail as to what I have in mind for today's topic, since I feel like it could be a little bit confusing as to what I mean exactly. So essentially what I imagine this would do in Fortnite Battle Royale is basically to implement some sort of like a drastic weather system or a natural disaster system, which would dramatically change the feel of the game once the event starts. Kind of similar to what Battlefield 4 has done with their like Levolution and their active weather, stuff like that. So as an example, halfway through the game, if let's say the game engines or the algorithm or something notices the players might not be engaging as much as they should be, the game is a little bit slow, you're not doing much, or for example, it's the opposite. Like the game sees that there's a lot of action going on, people are dropping left, right, the center, like it would basically trigger one of these events, or maybe these events could be player triggered as well. And for example, it would, let's say, spawn a tornado somewhere on the map that would just like sweep through it, but the tornado, the way it would affect the gameplay, it would essentially destroy all the player made structures in a certain radius. And basically, it wouldn't affect any sort of like gun mechanics, but it would force the campers to move to different positions, and building would just be not adequate enough, because every time you start placing a wall to take cover behind it, the tornado would just collapse this entire thing. Obviously, it would be windy, the sound effects would be insane, so it would be really hard to hear the gunshots as well, which would make for some really interesting firefights if you ask me. Another example would be, for example, to spawn the pink storm from Save the World, the pink mist, which would essentially impact the visibility. So the players would have to be more cautious when they traverse the landscape. They would have to be more careful because they can stumble across enemy players at any given moment, which would be amazing for like some of the more open areas where you can have, for example, players coming in, the mist drops, and instead of using like sniper rifles and like assault rifles, they would have to switch out to SMG, shotgun, stuff like that, just to change up the gameplay and the pace of the game. Obviously, we have to talk about the technical issues, because I would imagine something like that, a feature which would basically change the landscape, change the environment, would be very taxing on the system, servers, and whatnot, and I assume it's never going to be added simply because of that. It would be just a lot of work to implement a feature like this, which would just like destroy player-made structures, would obstruct vision, like spawn some sort of crazy weather events, stuff like that. So I think that is one of the main reasons why we're never going to see something like it. But hey, we can still dream on, okay? Maybe one day your daddy Vari is gonna come up to some of the Fortnite devs and is gonna be like, hey buddy, I've got 12 bucks in my pocket, do you want it? For implementing something like that in the game, they're gonna go, get the fuck out of my face, buddy. I'll take $13, thank you very much. And I'll be like, hell yeah, brother. Let me just set up a new donation goal and we can do it together, okay? And that's how that's gonna get added in the future. All jokes aside, personally, I do think that this would be a very welcomed feature. I would love to see something like that. Obviously, it wouldn't be very fair, but it could work kind of similar to how PUBG does the red zones. Essentially, let's say, as an example, the tornado. Once again, you've got a red zone which you know the tornado is going to spawn. Like, you've got sirens wailing in the background, stuff like that, and then all of a sudden you see the twister come down on top of you. Essentially forcing all the players in that area that are camping potentially in their bases and whatnot to move, because quite often you just come across an open field, you just see a massive tower and there's nothing you can do because it's nicely fortified, it's made out of metal and whatnot. But a tornado like this could force those players to move out and change their position and move outside the zone. I don't think the tornado should do any damage to players, just the player bases. But on the other hand, for example, if the red zone would spawn in, it would spawn in the mist. Once again, just changing up the gameplay, making it a little bit slower, and also kind of rendering bases and sniping useless in that region. So once again, it would kind of discourage camping, if that makes sense. Like base camping is what I mean, because obviously that is sometimes a problem. Obviously, if you're an experienced player, you know how to deal with that, but for the newbies among us, including me, I don't know how to deal with those, okay? Unless I've got an amazing rocket launcher, which I can quickly use to take out this entire base. But I think just situations like that would make the game a lot more memorable and tense if, for example, an event like that occurred when you're down to like the last 10. But like I said, it wouldn't be very fair, so maybe that's another reason why they wouldn't implement something like that. But I think it would just make for some really cool moments and memorable experiences that you could have in Fortnite Battle Royale. I mean, just imagine all the things that could be added to Fortnite Battle Royale. We've already discussed the tornado and the mist, a potential of a thunderstorm, which would somewhat limit visibility, but most importantly, it would basically deafen out all the gunshots, a bombing run, which would bomb a certain area very similar to the red zone from PUBG or Arma Battle Royale, toxic cloud bomb, which would essentially just drop a bomb into that area, and that area would become toxic, kind of forcing people to get out because they would take damage over time, similar to how the zone works when you're caught outside it. Another thing that would be very interesting, which I actually saw one of the comments that you guys have left, is just spawning zombies in a certain area from Save the World. They already have the models and everything, and basically once the zombies would spawn, you would get a choice of either, right? For example, you just avoid that entire area, you've got the red zone, the containment zone, or something like that, it's just, you just want to stay clear. Or, on the other hand, you go in and you try and take them out, and potentially once you kill the last enemy, you would be rewarded with some legendary loot if you kill the last zombie, which would be another very cool instance of having like risk and reward type of system in Fortnite Battle Royale. And I mean, obviously there's plenty more things that you guys can come up with, so I want you guys to share some of your ideas in the comment section down below. Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think this is a bad idea? Do you have any sort of suggestions for what they could add for some of these extreme weather events, or just like these extreme events in general? But as always, guys, that is gonna do it for yet another episode of Imagine If Fortnite Battle Royale. If you enjoyed this, then make sure you leave a like on it, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I will see you guys next time. Take care, goodbye. Bye, bye, bye. Yeah.